I honestly don't know how to start this video. Look, if you're sensitive to basically animal genocides, don't watch this video. But there's sort of a happy ending. If you're a Canadian invertebrate keeper, an arachnid keeper, you probably already know where this video is going. And the last week has been very heartbreaking and very upsetting. For some of us, even more than that. Okay, I don't really know how to articulate myself. I wanted to kind of make a script for this video, and I thought it would be more authentic to just be raw with it, so bear with me. Alright, here goes. So as you all know, I live in Vancouver. There is a city called Surrey that is not too far from here that has a bylaw that states that you cannot keep any form of venomous animal. Person will not be named or called out in this video. The person's home was essentially raided by the city officials. Basically, bylaw officers noticed some reptiles on the deck and peered into the window and saw a hoarder's invertebrates in small deli cups that were starving. Even they could see that from the window. It took them a day or so, if I'm not mistaken, to obtain a warrant to go into the home. They went into the home, no one was there. The whole home was abandoned by the looks of it. It was in terrible condition. There were supposedly animals rotting, starving, but you know how invertebrates can be. They can live in very poor conditions. Alas, most of these animals were deemed illegal. So what ended up happening was that the majority of them were destroyed. Yeah, destroyed. They were euthanized. And the reason to justify that was because Surrey's bylaw prohibits keeping venomous animals. Let me ask you a question. If there were 10 dogs, like dogs that even, I don't want to get into like a political thing here, but let's say a dog like a pit bull that regrettably is banned in some provinces or states, etc., countries maybe. Let's say there were 10 pit bulls in a city that bans them. Do you think for a second that people would allow those 10 animals to be euthanized? Or, never mind, that's not even a fair analogy. There were thousands of animals in this house, and thousands of animals were euthanized because they were illegal in that city, not given a chance to be adopted out by competent owners. I'm kind of losing it here. They weren't even given a chance to be adopted by competent owners that know how to keep them. Supposedly, one of the justifications for doing this was that those animals were not labeled properly because the seller sort of, how do you put it, has like a numerical system or something, and none of that was clearly explained. So from what I understand, the issues were that A, there isn't a registered invertebrate or arachnid rescue in the area that would take them. No rescue wanted to take these animals on because they considered them to be a liability issue if someone were to be envenomated. Now, that really comes from an inexperienced... Look, I really try not to be biased. I try to see two sides to everything, and I understand that if you don't know what you're talking about, you want to be making sure that everyone's safe, you don't want to jeopardize your business, you have to be considerate of those things. But truly, I feel like this is a combination of discrimination against animals that most people don't respect, which I hope will change, and something I strive to change, as you who follow my channel know, and a lack of education and understanding on how these animals are kept, and an infamiliarity as to how developed of a community there actually is in the legal area surrounding this city. So we have these animals. There were really rare centipedes. We had plenty of animals listed under CITES. There were brachypelma spiders. Now Poecilotheria is being listed under Appendix 2. Hundreds of those. All kinds of tarantulas. Now, in all fairness, this individual was keeping illegal inverts. There were some African giant millipedes, among other things. I believe they were keeping native turtles, which is a huge no-no, of course. So this sort of did create a situation that would definitely make officials upset and extreme. However, again, it boils down to the ethics of things. In any other situation, 1,000 animals would not simply be euthanized. They would not. Now, the only animals that survive this terrible, terrible genocide were those that were not considered venomous. Dr. Adrian Walton of Dewdney Animal Hospital was able to take on some vinegaroons and I think ambipigli, I don't know. But basically, these people wanted to help in some way. Look, you can comment down below on what you think. I respect that some effort was made, but I also don't respect that those animals were all destroyed. I really wish there was more push to... Okay, alas, I digress. I'll get to that. The animals were sent from Dewdney Animal Hospital to Vancouver Island, where they arrived at the Victoria Bug Zoo. The article shows images of the animals. They were emaciated. They were very thin, not well kept, malnourished, and the Bug Zoo made a statement announcing it and the relation to the article that came out all over the news here. It's a big deal. Like, this isn't nothing. People were also really obviously hurt and freaking out on all our forums, like Arachnoboards. The article went live there under the Canadian forum or thread. All our Canadian arachnid groups, everyone's really hurt and upset about this. And it's really important as a community that we really try to learn from this terrible tragedy. Out of all those animals, they were able to essentially put aside the vinegaroons, save them because they know that they're not venomous and they felt okay being liable for them and adopting them out. They felt experienced enough. My understanding is they weren't at first identified properly. Later they were in fact identified as Mastigoproctus giganteus, which is the giant vinegaroon, one of the largest species in the world, if not the largest species of vinegaroon in the world. Easy to keep, which is also extremely saddening to see them so emaciated. These animals can pretty well live off a single meal and stay at a healthy weight as long as they have access to water for quite some time. So seeing how thin they were just shows how little care was put into their husbandry. Anyway, they were right away cared for, nurtured, and brought back to health over the span of a few days, at which time an announcement was made that they had the intention of adopting these animals out to new homeowners. Because obviously, what are you going to do with like 60 vinegaroons? Yeah, no, they didn't want them. So I immediately contacted them and I really wanted to adopt one of these animals after everything they'd been through. I feel confident that I am a competent, knowledgeable, and loving owner. I even offered to take on 2 if they really wanted. I felt like that would be okay. They said that there's actually a lot of interest to adopt them, so that's a really good thing, I hope. They were making sure that people knew what they were doing, sending out care sheets for the animals. So I received my box here. The animal in this box is one of maybe 60 animals that survived last week. That's really messed up. Nas Daily made a really interesting video recently about plastic straws and the topic of selective empathy. Selective empathy. And I think that this really applies here too. You see, people see something, they see an animal getting hurt, they see a puppy mill and dogs and puppies in need, and they feel, you know, they feel something in their heart. They care. They're moved and motivated to be there for them, to stand up for their rights. But then they can turn a blind eye to, for example, the example he used is, you know, the slaughtering and consumption of beef. And again, I'm not getting into this. This is, you know, if we're staying on topic here, I'm gonna try not to deviate things. But that's a prime example. What is the difference here? We have thousands of animals in a private collection for resale, for pets, etc. that were neglected. These animals were in need. They weren't treated right. I understand fully that they were being kept in a jurisdiction, or whatever you want to call it, in a city with a bylaw that prohibited them being kept in it. However, does that justify destroying them? Taking their lives because they weren't where they were supposed to be? Was that the right thing to do? I really don't think so. And again, I'm not attacking the people that did this. The bottom line is the person who owned these animals is responsible for what happened, you know? That is the bottom line. But I also want to say that this really isn't right. We need to be able to approach this situation differently. If this were to happen again, there needs to be a different approach. These animals should have rights. These animals should have been given a chance to be adopted out to competent owners. The fact that they were unidentifiable supposedly is not a good excuse. It would have taken 2 seconds to have someone come from another city over to Surrey to identify them. There was no excuse to just destroy the animals. There would have been people that would have happily taken them in to see that not happen, and those people were from areas that could legally keep them. So that's where we're at. It's completely tragic. Completely tragic. I know that since this has happened, I think there's been some talk about starting a registered exotics rescue that deals specifically, or at least also deals with, invertebrates. And I think that's extremely important, especially the province of British Columbia, to prevent something like this from happening again. So thank you for listening to me ramble about this issue, everyone. Jeez Louise, man. But now we're going to unpack this box. I think I'm going to name this animal Hope, because there is hope. Alright guys, first things first, before we unpack Hope, who I've already named before taking them out of the box, I just want to thank the Victoria Bug Zoo staff and team for giving me the opportunity to adopt this animal, provide it with a loving home, and also for the excellent packing job and the care put into this. You can see they have it this side up, keep warm, harmless live animal. Here we have a live animal sign, lots of this side up stickers. Everything was really well done with the packing, so thank you so much for that. Insulated box, great to see. Insulated from the top as well. We have an invoice. What is this? Taking care of your Vinegaroon. For those of you that are wondering, this is the Victoria Bug Zoo's guide to caring for Vinegaroons. I have plenty of experience keeping a few different species of Vinegaroons, some from Southeast Asia, also an American species that I have currently. But this is always great to internalize and, you know, consolidate into the existing thoughts and ideas I have with regards to their care. But enough of that. I think you guys are just mostly excited to see this lovely animal. Here we go. Hello there. Hi, Hope. How are you? Careful. Don't want you to fall out. Look at this animal. Hey. Stay down. So you can see the impressive pedipalp. So what's interesting about Vinegaroons is, you'll see here, they've evolved, their palps are like these armored boxing gloves that come out sideways and really snare their prey. And then they have their legs 1, 2, 3, and the 8th leg here actually behaves. Hey, come back. Really see those palps out now and the way they would be able to snare prey. these, it's like a sharp hand. So these legs here act like feelers. And they sense and detect prey and chase after it, grab it, snare it, done, and then they're feeding. And then here, this looks like their tail, but this actually is the, shall I say, apparatus, if you will, that the animal uses to spray a acidic-like substance as a defense mechanism. So it isn't used in dissolving prey or anything like that. This tail is actually used to spray the acid-like substance. Ooh, put your foot through the air hole. To deter predators. And the reason they're called a vinegaroon is because that acid-like substance has a low pH, it's acidic, and it apparently, I don't know because I've never had this happen yet, it apparently smells like vinegar, which is kind of interesting. So, Hope here is getting a bit restless. I don't want to stress the animal out, but it's great to see, thank goodness, the Victoria Bug Zoo has fed them quite well, and she is plump and healthy. So I'm so happy that she's recovered from her lack of care that she was suffering from. Let's go ahead and let her be. I'll bring the lid back down, but yeah, this is Hope the Vinegaroon. I hope you guys love them as much as I do. I really am excited about owning Hope. Bye, Hope. I want Hope's story to inspire, I'm not trying to be cheesy, but I really hope that Hope's story will inspire the masses to respect all walks and forms of life. Not just the fluffy, cute dogs and cats, which are wonderful animals. The bunnies, the hamsters. These animals deserve immense love and respect, but so do the ones that are in this box and the ones that didn't have the chance to make it in this box. I hope that makes some sense. I'm going to link the article down below. You guys can read it to see exactly what happened in this story. And I'd really like to urge you, if you're someone who loves invertebrates, keeping them as pets, just admiring them outside, what can you do in your daily routine or in your life to positively influence the image of those said animals? It can be as simple as seeing someone say, "Ew, a spider," and saying, "Oh, what a wonderful little creature. It eats the bad bugs that come into the house." Something like that. Look at that gross cockroach. You could say, I mean, that's a bad example because cockroaches can be pretty bad pests. I don't know. Like you see a bug and someone's like, "Ew, it's disgusting." You could say, "Oh, look at the beautiful color of its wings." Like, how can you positively influence the world around you? Besides teaching the younger generations. The same way other issues are taught and not inherent, this is something that's taught as well. We're not inertly scared and disgusted by all types of life. We can positively influence our communities to respect these animals, and maybe that can have a ripple effect where people will respect things. Yes, a law is a law, a bylaw is a law, but how do we go about, maybe as a community of invertebrate lovers, changing these laws? If you go to Tarantula Cat's channel, she talks about the issues down in the States with government regulations changing in the way that we can keep these types of animals. These are serious issues. So, with that all being said, thank you. I'm sorry for all the rambling and ranting. I hope you enjoyed meeting Hope, and I hope you see that I'm really happy to have this opportunity to own this animal and the message that she has. It's really, really sentimental, and it means a lot to me to be able to have her and really appreciate her and care for her after everything she's been through. It's not funny to be an animal and be at complete mercy to your owner and go through that, and oh man, it's just nuts. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like, feel free to subscribe down below, ding the notification bell to know when my next video is coming out, and I hope that the next video I put out is going to be a lot more positive than this one, even though, yes, Hope is a very positive finale to this story. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in another video again soon. Take care.